Well, hey everybody. I have been running around for the past hour and a half or so, 2 hours. It's been a bit. I went for a walk, came back in immediately, made some dinner, fed the cats. As you can see, Esther is back in her spot behind me. And I just wanted to sit down and wrap up January of 2026 because I have not done that yet. I feel like a mess. I probably look like a mess, but that just means I match everything else in this world. This year, to get me back into reading, I have subscribed to Books and Lala's or Kayla's uh, Buzzword Challenge. She has two different challenges, and I'm going to try both of them. So far, I'm doing good. I'm 2 for 2 plus some that I read in February. January's buzzwords were, I believe, an internal organ or body part. So I read "If We Were Villains" by M.L. Rio. It has a skull on the cover. And I read "Before We Were Yours" by Lisa Wingate, which was chosen for the before and after buzzword. I've been wanting to read that book for a while. It's part of my own adoption and foster care challenge that I made a couple years ago. So I finally got around to it. Both of these books have been on my TBR for different lengths of time, but I'm happy to have read both of them in January. Both of them received fairly high to high star ratings. But yeah, "If We Were Villains" by M.L. Rio, that is the first book that I read in January of this year. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.75 stars on Storygraph. This is the story of Oliver, who was a theater student at a prestigious school. I can't remember the name, but he, along with his other third year students, are kind of the upper echelon of their school. The school, like I said, is prestigious. When you graduate, you're very likely to land a career in acting. It's cutthroat. It's hard to make it to the level that they're at. But when we're introduced to Oliver, he is in prison. He is about to be released into civilization again. And his CO is on his way out as well. He's retiring and he wants to know from Oliver what actually happened the night one of his friends was murdered. It's not so much of a back and forth, really. I don't remember if the chapters alternate between him telling the CO what his story was, what the story was, or if we went on this long stretch of just getting to know the students and kind of setting the stage, literally. It doesn't matter. It follows the story as Oliver is telling it. We get to know his friends, which really lean into their stereotypes. We had the hero, the villain, the femme fatale, the ingenue. All of these roles, basically, they've been typecast into these roles in the plays. And I guess their personalities just fit those roles to a T because they leaned into them way too much. And my issue, while I liked Oliver and I was happy that he was the main character that we followed throughout this novel, there were some moments, especially like reflective moments, that I didn't think were earned necessarily, at least not at the time that they occurred. For example, there was one character who opened up and was super vulnerable to the group, and it was supposed to. It felt like it was supposed to come across as um, this really humanizing moment where we were really supposed to feel for this character, but we didn't know them for very long, so it didn't really feel earned. Like it just felt like it was part of this character to be vulnerable and open all the time, even though all of their friends were like, "Oh, we didn't know this." So yeah, there was a lot of history with these characters that the reader is not privy to. And so these moments of openness that these characters feel uh, just feel like regular character traits. Some of the other ones that were added in, um, they didn't really lean into anything at all, and they were kind of forgettable. So it was kind of like two extremes. I had two characters that I really liked, Oliver included, but the other characters I feel stood on opposite sides of the line where I didn't really remember them or I didn't know them well enough. And two, they did some things that I just didn't feel were very well earned. But I did enjoy the story. If you do like an academic murder mystery, then this could be a good book for you. I did enjoy it. I thought the mystery elements were really well done. I read a lot of reviews that made comments about how the students spoke to each other. They tended to dip into uh, Shakespearean speech, and it was kind of like they lived their day to day as if they were part of a play. Um, some people were turned off by that, but for me, when I was reading it, I felt like it was pretty accurate. If you're in a group of people who share the same hobby as you, and it's like your life, then chances are you're gonna speak to them um, from the perspective of your hobbies being the same. Uh, I know when I'm talking to my gamer friends, I talk about video games a lot. There's just not a script to that. There's not like a language for video games unless I'm like quoting something. But in this case, it's just like you're taking your hobby and you have that sort of inside joke with people and they're able to communicate in that way. And so I wasn't so bothered by the Shakespearean language. It came across as melodramatic at times, but if you've ever read a Shakespeare play, then I mean, you get what you get. Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. I gave that 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4.5 stars on Storygraph. This one isn't as fun of a book, but it was a great read for me. It's set in South Carolina. It's dual perspective, so you have Avery as one perspective and Real Foss as the other one. And I almost flipped y'all off, and I'm so sorry. But I feel like part of the reason why I gave this book a 4.5 star rating is because I did not like the name Real Foss. It it just wasn't, I don't know, it didn't have a nice ring to it and it bothered me. It's not really the reason why I dropped a star rating, but it did bug me a little bit. We have this dual perspective, and I'll say just right out of the gate that I didn't appreciate Avery's perspective as much while I was reading it, but looking back on the horrors that Rill had and her siblings had to face, I really appreciated Avery's more investigative chapters to break up some of the awful things that we had to read in Rill's chapters. But this story covers something that really happened in the South. This horrible woman, Georgia Tan, created this child trafficking ring where she would abduct children from poor families and set up these parties or these shows to sell them off to wealthier families. So when we're introduced to Real, her parents, her mom, who goes by Queenie in the book, she's pregnant with twins and they're breech, so she can't have them in the houseboat that they live on the Edisto River. She has to go to the hospital and have them. So while she and Bryony, who I don't believe was her husband, but I believe they were, I mean, they were at least partners. So while they're at the hospital, making sure that their babies are safe, Rill and her 4 siblings are taken and are put into um, this home basically that Georgia Tam has set up. It's not a pleasant read, but it is good for information's sake, just to know like this is something that actually happened. It's a fictional take, but it is something that actually happened in the United States. And then you have Avery's side. Avery goes to visit her grandmother in an assisted living facility. And she starts to learn some things about her own family that she wants to investigate. And so we follow her through this investigation. We also meet a lot of people on her side as well. and it's a really interesting back and forth. It's just awful. It's awful what people are willing to do to children. But for the sake of learning, I do appreciate this novel and that it was written. As much as I do enjoy pleasant books about South Carolina, this one also took place in South Carolina and it wasn't so pleasant. It is a dark spot in our history, and I do think it's important for us to remember some of the dark spots in our history, because if we don't remember them, if we don't learn from them, then we don't grow from them. And I don't know. This is a it's a tough book, but it's a good book. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check that one out. And if you are also interested in If We Were Villains, I'm not going to leave individual links to the books anymore. I'm just going to leave a link to my own personal 2026 list, so that you can just take a look at some of the books that I'm reading or that I'm thinking about reading, because I do DNF from time to time, and those end up removed from the list. But yeah, if you're interested in those, definitely click on the link in the description below. Check out the synopses of those books, and if you are further convinced, head on over to your local library and check them out, or purchase them if you're feeling brave. If you enjoyed this video for whatever reason, do leave a like and comment down below. Otherwise, have a great day and happy reading.